Hi, I'm Lazze and I'm teaching people in metal shaping, and I'm back here now with another thing to do in the bead roller that I think can be valuable for you out there. And what you're going to do, use it for, that's up to you. But I'm going to show you something different that I find out over the years. So this is what I'm going to show you how to make. So I just took a piece of sheet metal and rolled it. I think I bent it over a pipe, or if I rolled it in a slip roll, I don't remember. And then I tack welded together. So it's a cylinder, okay? But I want to roll this edge into a smaller ID, and that's what I'm going to show on this video. When I roll this edge in, it's a smaller and it needs to be shrunk. And I can shrink this edge. This is what I'm going to use as a sample, and I'm going to shrink this edge before I roll it in the bead roller. And I'm using the deep shrinker because the jaws open up a little more in the deep shrinker, so I can reach in a little bit in the radius like that. But if I don't have the deep shrinker, I can do very similar to the other one, but I can start with a flat piece like this, and I can start shrink it with a small shrinker. So I shrink this and it starts curving and get some damage. I'm going to be consistent with my shrinking, and then I can run this piece in the bead roller and smooth that out and make it a radius on it, and then maybe shrink it again. But I think that could be done with a small shrinker. So I'm over here at the deep shrinker and stretcher, and I'm going to use the shrinker jaws. As you can see here, I draw a line about 3/4 inch deep from the edge, and I did that because I must be consistent with the shrinking, the depth, and also be consistent with the pressure. If I'm going to make this circle round after I have run it in the bead roller, I need to be very consistent with my shrinking and do my best. So I do exactly the same on every time I'm shrinking it. So let's shrink this. So you can see already now it starts tipping down. And the reason why I'm using the deep shrinker is that the jaws open up a little more. You see, I'm not always all the way into the line, but that's okay. So I'll probably go one more turn after this and maybe more. And if I run this without doing this and run that in the bead roller, it will be lots of wrinkles. So here I'm one turn around. You see, I go a little deeper in now. I can always do more on the edge later, but if I do too much on the edge in the beginning, I can't go further in. The jaws don't allow me to do that. So there you can see what it looks like. And as you can see here, the last part here, it's a little flat because that's where I stopped. But the rest of it, it's pretty round. So now I know that I'm pretty consistent with my shrinking. So let's go one more turn, but I would like to go more on the edge now. And see if this will be enough, or if I need to go one more time. Same thing here where I stopped, it's flat. I think I would like to go a little more now, because if I run it in the bead roller, it will wrinkle if it's still too long. This will be very difficult to do with a small shrinker. That's what it looks like now. So let's go over to the bead roller and see what happened when I run that between the dies in the bead roller. So I'm over here to the first generation bead roller. It doesn't matter if I'm using the second or the first generation bead roller, but I'm here at the first generation bead roller. And the dies that I'm using here is 12.5 millimeter radius die, which is about 1 inch wide totally. And the top die is the half U profile die, that matching here. So I adjusted the shaft so I have the thickness of the metal. When I turn this down almost all the way down, it should be the thickness of the metal all the way on the radius there. And I'm going to put this one in there, and then I'm going to crank this one down. And now I can feel a resistance. That means that it's not going to slip ring. I don't want that to happen. I want it to grab the metal. So what I'm looking for is this edge here and the edge of the panel, the sheet that I'm using there. So now let's take a look at and see what this one looks like. And here you can see that I was very good with my shrinking, and I was consistent with it, because you can see that this circle, inner circle here, is round, and that's what we wanted. So now I'm going to start with a flat piece like this, and I marked that with 3/4 inch line, so I know the depth. And I'm using the deep shrink and stretcher here to start shrinking this flat piece, but I'm pretty sure that you can use the small shrinker to do that as well. The same thing here, I need to be consistent with my shrinking and the pressure, the depth and the pressure. And it takes a little practice to learn to use the shrinker that way. Here I was little less pressure for just one step there, so I do a little more. That's what it looks like after the first one. Let's do a little more, and let's go in a little deeper this time. I can always do more on the edge later on, but if I do too much on the edge in the beginning, I can't go further into the line because the jaws doesn't allow me to do that. So now I do more on the edge. So I think the radius is pretty the same. Maybe I should have done little bit more there. The good thing with a shrink and a stretcher is that you can always regret. So if you do a little too much or too little, you can always go backwards. So there, I think the radius we want there. So now we can go over to the bead roller again and run this one and see what that looks like. So I'm back here to the bead roller with the same dies as I did for the cylinder, and I'm going to crank this down and use quite a bit pressure there so it's not slippering. And I can do small steps with my bead roller too. I don't need to go full speed. There you can see what it looks like. I got a little mark there, but that's after the die, the top die here. That's okay. I can always do a little hammer dolly and little grinding work there. So let's do one more thing to this now. This was an inner curve. Let's do the other side of it and flare this out instead. So now I'm going to flare this edge out like this. So that's what it looks like there. What I would like to do here now is I can go in here and stretch that with a stretch a little bit and then run it one more time to clean it up in the bead roller. So I'm over here to the stretcher side now, and this little flange here, you can actually do that with a small stretcher. I don't think you need the big deep shrink stretcher. There you can see that the curve is matching now, and I have little to do there, and you can see the difference between here and there, and here it needs to be stretched more. This side here, it looks pretty good, so I think we are good on that part there. If I stretched it a little bit here, which I think I'm going to do, I think the flange can be a little taller if I do that after I have run it in the bead roller. So let's fix this first. And then I go a little bit lighter this way as well. Probably should have drawn a line there so I know the depth. So let's run this in the bead roller now to see what it looks like. So I have adjusted the stretcher there, and I shrunk it a little bit and stretched it and worked a little on it, and then I'm going to go and run it one more time in the bead roller and see where we are. So I think it came out a little better, but it still needs little adjustments. So that was the stuff that I show you today on this video, and to bend the flange, inner curve, outer curve. But what you're going to use it for, it's up to you. And who knows, you're going to find out something that I haven't done before, and you maybe find out something that you can use it for that I don't know about. But at least you have seen it and how it's done. That means that one day maybe you're going to run into something and you're going to use what you have learned. So if you have any more if you want more information about my classes and equipment or products, you can go to www.lazzemetalshaping.com. Thank you for watching.